Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky. Super excited to welcome our next guest tonight. We have got the Shaman and the Showman tonight. Gentlemen, how are we? Welcome to Let's Get Freaky podcast.
No, you got it wrong. It was the Frug and the Freak.
Ah, so we were saying before we got Thomas and Charles here tonight, which is cool because my name is Thomas Charles, and you guys,
So I
It's
think
meant to
there's a
be.
little spooky element going on.
yeah, we've already got a connection. Yeah.
Woo!
So where are you guys based in the US right now?
Connecticut, right in between Boston and New York. New England, one of the most haunted parts of the world, aside from Dorset, of course. And
Yes.
I'm a transplant New Yorker, originally from Bronx, New York, in Connecticut most of my life, where I've sort of made that the hub of all the horror and paranormal and all the stuff I do. And Tom is also an East Coast guy.
Yep. Yeah,
Awesome.
East Coast, and then I spent some time in Florida working down
Okay.
there and retired, came back up to Connecticut. So a little back and forth up and down the East Coast there.
Awesome, man. New England's where I want to live. That's the aim. You see, I've got the Boston hat on, the Celtics hat on, champions. That's where I wanna be. That's the aim one day.
We want to be in Old England. We want to be there. You want to be in New England.
Yeah. We can just keep swapping every now and again, you know. You guys come over, I'll show you some castles, and then
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
I'll come over to you and yeah, I know you've got a lot of haunted, amazing places there, man. The history there is amazing. I'd love to Salem. Yeah, no, there's so much cool stuff there.
We love to say that New England, the East Coast of the US is very, very haunted, and people will ask why. And I have a theory that it's, where so much bloodshed. When you guys when we fought each other for that crazy time period, so many casualties. And not only that, but we did so many uncool things with the Native Americans and took their land and built over their cemeteries and built over their holy places. So combinations of all that, wherever there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot of turmoil, there's going to be residual happenings and occurrences. And this part of the world is pretty old. It's been around a lot longer than other places in the U.S. Which, the longer the history, the more obviously it's just logical that the more chances of haunted locations and spooky places and all that.
100%. I love it because all the names are the same as in the UK. Every town that I've looked into, all the names are exactly the same. So
Especially Connecticut. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
very
so
much.
cool. So it feels like home from home, to be honest. I feel
Yeah.
like I know it already.
Mhm. It's true.
So where does the shaman and the showman, where do those names come from?
Well, it's got that, nice alliteration, the sound. But it started because, I'm relatively new to the paranormal world. 5 or 10 years I've been doing the investigations, but I was always the show guy. I was always the one who portrayed the skeptic, the non-believer. I'm the funny, outgoing, crazy one where he's the serious historian, this with no sense of humor, no personality. So it was the yin and yang here.
He
But there
doesn't mean that.
That's our relationship. That's
it
our
really is.
relationship.
Really
And
is.
yeah, we
Yeah.
we we play off each other, and it's always fun, and that's why we get along so well. I think telling the story when we first met. Uh,
First
yeah,
met at a psychic fair.
yeah.
He's hanging out and he's trying to ingratiate himself. I said, "Yeah, man, I don't like you." And he goes, "That's all right. I don't like you either." And literally, the next day, we became, partners in this paranormal partnership
Yep.
of the shaman and the showman. I had a previous shaman. Forget that. Now, this was meant to be, because
Mhm.
literally we go out on paranormal investigations. And I admit I'm a novice, and I'm the one who, will make sure people have fun, make sure they get their drinks in before the event, make sure that they know what they're in for. And then Thomas takes over and he brings the paranormal equipment, he brings the meters, he brings the spirit box, he brings all that stuff. and then takes over. You know, he does the research before we go anywhere. He knows the history of every place, and he's right in there telling what the people should look for, and we get amazing results, to the point of, you know, when I said I used to be the skeptic and I'd play the non-believer. I can't anymore because there's too much evidence, there's too much results, there's too many great photos that prove so much. And now it's me, you know, I always defer to him, but he just takes the ball and runs with it. You know, it's the perfect yin and yang, the perfect symmetry of someone who's a shaman and someone who's serious and knows what they're doing, and me, just the showman who just comes up and, you know, tries to make sure everyone has a good time.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool. So you come together and you work well. So you're different, but it works, and that's
Yeah.
cool. You often find with a duo that they're very different, but they need each other.
Yeah, it's because he's been a showman for so long, and I've been a shaman type for just as long. You know, we're both been in this for 40 plus years. We're not new to it in our sides, and that's why we work well. We know we want people to learn about the paranormal the right way, not what's on TV, anything like that. We teach people from scratch. There's people that are there that are novice, have never done it before, and are looking for an experience, but you know, a safe experience, which is important. And you never know when you go into a place that's supposedly haunted, and you get your history and all that, and you kind of know who you're talking to, possibly. And you know, we want everybody to have that good time. And for me, sometimes I have to take over the group because something will happen. And I know if I don't control it, people are going to miss out on the experience. Case in point, we had an event at a trolley museum, which is here in Connecticut in East Haven. And we had some people, we do 2-day events. So we'll have a group one day and then the next day. Of course, I'm there both days. So we're on one of the trolleys that was supposedly from New Orleans, and I picked up on sometimes I could feel the energies and I pick up on stuff with the equipment I verify. And I let the people hold the equipment, like they're excited to do it. And one of the meters was going off like really crazy. And I was picking up on a guy named Billy, and he wanted to go to college. So I'm like, okay. But the next day, Billy came to me again, a little stronger this time, to the point where the meter was really going, like we're getting energy. And the guy that was part of the trolley museum felt energy push him, and he had to catch himself. When I saw that, I had everybody sit down and quiet for a second. I think Billy's trying to reach out. And in my mind, I almost like a movie was going off, and I could see that Billy went to World War II. And I picked up, I think he might have died and never got to go to college. So I just said to Billy, I said, Billy, you serving the country and dying for your country is like going to college. As soon as I said that, all the meters just stopped. Everybody's mouth was hung open. And I was surprised too, because usually when you go and do these things, there's so many people. You got to think about the spirit world. There's 20 people watching, you know, and you're a spirit and you're like, oh my God, if somebody walked in the bar and 20 people started asking you questions, I don't think you would say anything. You'd probably run away. But getting that, you know, supposed closure for this, you know, spirit was mind blowing for some people. Some people didn't know how to wrap their head around it. You know, I do this, I've been doing this for 40 years, but I've never had it happen with that many people at the same time. So it was crazy. So that's what we do. And you never know what experience you're going to get with our events.
Yeah. So is that an ability you've always had, like throughout your
Yes.
life?
I didn't understand it at first. I think when I was about 14, 15, I met some famous, I don't know if you guys probably know in England, the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine.
Oh, yeah,
Warren.
for sure. Yeah.
So they were from Connecticut, Monroe, Connecticut, and they used to go give these speeches at colleges. And I went with some friends, and I met Lorraine, and she kind of picked up on it. And I got friendly with them over the years, get to see them a few times, and she always helped me. And I understood it, but I had to go on my own journey and figure it out. But at least she gave me the tools, you know, to figure it out for myself. And you know, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know.
Yeah.
It's with anything, even in life, you never know. You're always on that journey.
Always learning. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I think once you stop learning, that's when it's all over. That's when you join the spirit world. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fun learning. It's fun learning and growing.
Yeah.
And so where did it all start for you? What was you experiencing things as when you were a kid? How did it start
I
for
think it's
you?
more of a going into a room and feel sadness and don't know why. And, when you're a kid and all that, and, there's a family history and stuff. And, I thought, geez, like maybe I'm going crazy or something. And you never know. You always question that stuff and, just upset out of nowhere, mad out of nowhere. And, yeah, it was really draining over the years. And then I got to the point where I'm now at the point where my normal job, I could turn it off where I don't expend the energy. And then I could turn it on with just a simple meditation to get myself into what I refer to as theta wave. Scientifically, when you're let things in or try and communicate with anything, you put your mind into theta, which is the falling asleep and waking up feeling. That's what all psychic mediums, empaths, and all that can get to that point. And that's when they're open to communicate or feel things from beyond the veil.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So was you seeing things as well, or was it just feelings?
Oh,
Or
I've seen things. I could be sitting in my couch, like I said, the theta. I'll be sitting watching a show, and I'm starting to get that falling asleep, and I'll see like a mist of a figure come through my door. So I like attract stuff sometimes. When you're open, you attract. I always tell people when you can feel and they know, you become that beacon of light for
yeah,
spirits to get their story out. And that's one of my main objectives as a healer is to help the living and the dead. And I work with Charles to be able to do that. We provide these events for people to learn how to do that if that's, their calling or anything like that. It's not something, where people just mess around or anything. It's a learning experience. It's teaching. It's having a good time, getting to see like-minded weirdos like ourselves to have some fun. So it's amazing to be able to do this stuff and be with like-minded people, and it's very enjoyable.
yeah. So Charles, for you, this is quite a new thing. Before you got into this paranormal investigations and stuff like that, did you have any experiences?
I was a monster guy. I
Oh
don't know
wow.
if you ever got these in your country, famous monsters of filmland. And I used to build the monster models when I was a kid. There's the
Oh
creature from Black
wow.
Lagoon. So I was always in that side of stuff, loving the monsters, loving the horror, loving the fiction, not ever thinking that the real thing was something that I wanted to be involved with. But because I was producing conventions and doing events, the opportunity arose to present a Paracon, a paranormal convention in Connecticut. And I jumped on it. And the whole idea of being able to do conventions is something that I love doing because I know that it brings a lot of joy to a lot of people. And it's a great place cathartically to get together, and kindred spirits can share, stuff that they can't talk to an everyday person about. And what has happened is this has blossomed. The more I'm involved, the more I want to be involved. The more I am, my eyes are opening, my head is opening, my brain is opening. And although I don't sense things the way Tom does, the way so many, paranormal people have that, clairvoyance or anything else, I still love the fact that there's so many people who have the gift. It's a gift. When we were growing up, if someone said, they saw things, that we thought they were a nutter. Is that the expression?
Oh yeah.
And it's changed now that, when I do we do library appearances together. And the first thing I'll say is, how many people believe in ghosts? And if there's 50 people in the room, 45 will raise their hand. How many have had a paranormal experience? 40 raise their hand. So no one's ashamed to be judged. They're not thinking I can't talk about this phenomena, to the point where, we try to do 4 or 5 times a year these paranormal investigations events. We do 2 or 3 conventions. We do the paranormal one in Connecticut and the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention.
Oh wow.
We're doing a witch trials festival. We do Connecticut's Psychic Fair Fest. So this has become, a real something that I've immersed coming from this OG monster kid, and just taking this turn around from the fiction to this is real. I mean, I for years I would have probably scoffed at the stuff that I'm seeing, come alive in front of me. I put out a book a few years ago called True Ghost Stories of Connecticut. And if you love ghost stories, you love the book. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be from Connecticut. But the criteria for the book is I had about 30 people similar to Tom, who I didn't know Tom at the time, who I went and asked, what's your experience? What's that wow, jaw dropping? I wanted you to tell me the number one thing, the occurrence, the unexplained that, that has remained in your mind. And they told it to me, or they wrote it to me, and I put 30 different chapters in the book. And what's really weird, and this has only come out since I did the book, is, people say, did you ever have a paranormal experience? I don't know. Nah, I didn't. I did. Tommy, I had in college an encounter with the Pink Lady of New Haven. And I didn't remember it till I was writing the book. And people said, well, you're going to put your own chapter. You can put your own chapter. And I'm thinking, I didn't have an experience. And it hit me like, pow, you get hit, pow. I was powed. And I, oh my God, how could I have forgotten this? And I think it was a repressed memory. I think it was one of these things that for some reason, I forgot about. Well, anyway, I went with a friend. It was the seediest, grungiest part of New Haven. It's like Liverpool years ago. And I keep doing these references, so you'll appreciate. And we went, and I lost track of him. We were college buddies. We shared rock and roll stuff. But he took me to this Pink Lady, this ghost. And when I was ready to write the book, and I wrote the chapter on the Pink Lady, I went on Facebook to find him. I found him. I sent him the chapter, and I said, Ed, I want you to tell me if I've gotten this right. Am I embellishing it? Am I changing it anyway? And he wrote back, oh my God, not only is it word for word correct, but I'd forgotten about it until you
wow.
reminded me. So I don't know if there was something about it that we needed to forget and remember later on. So that was freaky because we both forgotten about it, and it's one of the chapters in the book that I put out. But Tom mentioned the experience he had at the haunted trolley. The guy who runs it, it's a museum. It's run by the city. I saw him a few days ago, and he said, I hope Thomas told you about all the unbelievable things that happened that night, because he, who works there, lives there, breathes it, takes walks along the rails, he experiences things. And it's easy for him to relate to all this stuff, but he'd never had a scenario where someone like Thomas came and actually communicated with some of the people that he's probably come in contact with all the time.
Yeah, that's what. And I've spoken to a lot of people, going back to what you were saying about forgetting that memory. I've talked to a lot of people that have experienced that. There seems to be something in that, and I've had quite a few paranormal experiences throughout my life, and yet there are things that I come back to me and I'm like, how have I forgot about that? People are going to think, how can you forget that? But it happens. You do, for whatever reason.
I had another experience, and I did the chapter and I showed it to my wife, and she would not let me put it in the book. Tom, I don't even think I ever told you this, my partner over there, but something happened in my own home.
Well, where you are now?
Yeah, where I live now.
Oh, wow.
Before I moved in, and the story is just one of those, oh my God, moments. And she goes, no, I don't want people like him to come in the middle of the night and do some investigations at our house. I don't want our kids to know that there was ever a scenario like that. And so I did what I think is one of the best chapters I was not able to put in my own book.
Oh man.
Because
can you tell us?
Home.
I want to know, man.
If she ever lets me put out the chapter in a second volume, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You won't know.
Or if you come on one of our investigations and you get a few pints in, maybe I will.
Well, you should never give power to it. So I wouldn't name it or give power to it. Leave it dormant. That's what I always say.
Can I ask you about your Pink Lady experience? Would you be able to share that?
Well, yes. So we were in college and we would always go to nightclubs, and my friend Ed I loved the Beatles. He loved the Who. I loved Elvis Costello. He loved Springsteen. We always, loved the same genres, but different aspects of genres. So we would go out clubbing, in college in those days, there was a lot of great rock clubs. And one night he would always say, hey, someday I got to take you to the Pink Lady. I'm like, I thought it was a stripper or something. I don't want to go see the Pink Lady. I'm a nice, clean kid. And he goes, no, we're going to go. I'm going to take you. You'll be amazed. And I just put it off and put it off. And when I went to a club, the first band sucked. The second band that came on was even more miserable. The first, let's get out of here. He goes, well, it's early. You told your parents you're not going to be home till midnight. Why don't we go see the Pink Lady? And I'm like, I can't get out of this. He's driving. Takes me to really the grottiest part of town. And we stop under a bridge and he turns off the motor. And go, okay, I'm going to tell you the story. And he proceeds to tell me about this couple that fell in love, that were due to get married or got married. They had the ultimate, this was the love that would last forever. And they made their vows. And, as luck would have it, he was called away to war, World War II, from what I understand. And he was told, and he said to his beautiful bride, his wife to be, whatever she was, his lover, that we're going to get a home. And what we're going to do is when I come back from the war, I don't care if I rent a car, if I steal a car, if I borrow a car, I'm going to come around the bend. I will beep the horn twice, flash my high beams. You come out on the porch, you come out on the deck. I'll know you're waiting for me in your pink negligee. I will come up and we'll pick up where we left off. And this was their vow. And this was what they said would happen when he got back. And I think the next part of the chapter is he gets killed in the war. And Ed is telling me this, but this is the quick version. I don't, this is the sum up version of it. It's a lot longer the way he told it. At which point he starts up the motor and he goes, we are now going to visit that home. And we take 3-block turn to the left, small turn to the right, go around that bend. And when we go around that bend, he beeps twice, he flashes his brights, and my hand to God, she comes out in a flowing pink negligee, white face, no eyes, looks at our car and fades back into the house. And I am dumbfounded, gobsmacked. I am like, I can't believe this. He goes, I told you I wanted to take you to see the Pink Lady. Next day, I get in my car and I take my parents because I told them the story and they didn't believe it. They go, were you drinking? I go, no, Ma, I don't drink. We went there. I told them the story as best I could remember it. We take the left, take the right, go around the bend, beep, beep, brights. She comes out again. And, what my parents said, oh, it must be a trick. No trick. There were no projection screens in those days. There was nobody across the street that was putting a slide project. There was nothing across the street. This was an old home with a second floor, with a balcony, and she came out. When I wrote the book, I went to find it again, and it was all demolished. That part of town is gone.
Oh, man.
So that's the story of the Pink Lady in New Haven. And a
Wow.
lot of people, I asked old timers in New Haven, do you know 1 out of 100 have heard of it? And one person said, oh yeah, I think it was at the turn of the century. I think it was World War I. And it was a bicycle. And I go, are you sure? He goes, well, I don't know. I'm an old man. So it's a story that could have been a lore, could have been a legend, could have been BS. But if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would still to this day say, oh yeah, it's one of those made up things.
Wow. Man, that must have been amazing to see.
In the book, True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, available at www.paranormalconnecticut.com or Amazon UK or Amazon US.
I will share the links in the show description so people can find it. That's amazing though, man. And that's amazing to go back the next day and to see it again.
Again, exactly
Wow.
the same way. She came out the same way, stared at the car. If she could see through, no eyes, and then literally evaporated back into the house. There was no doubt we'd seen a ghost. It was unbelievable. And that's one of 30 stories. I mean, every story has that. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Was she like a solid form, or was she see through? How did she?
You know, it's a great question. And had I been there now, that would have been one of the things I would have tried to concentrate on. You know, if there was an angle, if there was anything, I just remember the pink flowing negligee, a bright white face and black and no eyes. That's all I don't remember if it was opaque, if you can see through her, or if she was solid. I don't remember that. I do remember, if you ever saw, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Vincent Price movie House on Haunted Hill, and there's
Yeah.
this old witchy girl, old witch lady who they must have put her on a skateboard or something, because she doesn't walk across the room. She just sort of floats.
Yeah.
When she came out, it was like she floated out, and when she went back, it was like she disintegrated back.
Wow, man. Well, I wonder if you went there now and if you could find the location. I know
I
it's
did.
probably.
No,
Oh,
I
you
did.
found the location.
Even though it's not, yeah, even though it's all demolished and the building's not there, I did the same route, the same everything, and no,
Ah,
nothing happened.
wow,
Yeah.
man. That's a cool experience, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So what was your, I know obviously that memory got suppressed and that can happen. What was your moment now in the last 10 years that made you go, you know what,
Yeah.
this is real?
There's too many. There's too many now. You know, going to an old opera house, taking pictures of a doorway, and it being just a blank, you know, with the sun coming through, and then in one shot having a shrouded figure in one picture and not the rest. It's going to a demon house in a part of Connecticut with Thomas, and you know, hearing the words go. I'll tell you an interesting story. There was a show on Netflix called 28 Days Haunted, where they put 2 or 3 paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, in 3 different American cities. One of them happened to be Preston, Connecticut, and a place called Captain Grant's Inn. You can still see it on Netflix. And Sean Austin, who's a friend of ours, was one of the 3 investigators. He's a Connecticut guy. So we decided to revisit the location and do a few weekends there where people stayed over, and he hosted and we hosted and all that. And there was one experience where I returned on the snow. I was there Friday night and Saturday night. I was ready to leave on Sunday, and some people were still coming on Sunday because they were late. They were from Maine or New Hampshire or Vermont, a different part of New England. And I waited for them. And all the people 45 minutes earlier, there's 2 cemeteries. There's one, the family crypt on the property, and then there's the ancient old cemetery across the street. And they wanted to go to both graveyards, and I said, sure. I didn't go today. I'll go with you. And I was Sean Austin. Everyone said I had to go because there was a secret crypt on the burial grounds, a secret crypt. Now, they have that. That's not uncommon. That's where they would store the bodies if they had to be overnight before they buried them the next day. So in this ancient cemetery, everyone had visited this crypt. They sent me photos, they sent me videos. They said, you have to see it when the next group goes. I took the next group there. Tommy and Thomas, this is the truth. We could not access it. It was all covered with trees, with branches, with leaves. It was literally some force had covered the walkway. So within that 45 minutes or an hour that the other group had gone and had no problem getting in all weekend, I could not access it. I could not,
Wow.
these few people. I had to say, it's over there. That's where it is. You have to see it from here. Could a group of kids have come in 45 minutes and covered that as a practical joke? That's what my scientific, logical brain wants to say. There were no kids around. There would no kid would think of doing that.
Mhm.
What was the force? What was the entity? What was the unexplained scenario that prevented future people from walking into that crypt? I don't know the answer, but that's one of the more recent of the surprise things that have happened. I'll probably put that if I do a next book, because that was one of those. Wow.
It's the old
Yeah.
the elemental action there on hallowed
Yeah.
ground. So the
Yeah.
elementals
See,
kick in
see, I can, I
sometimes.
can, I can count probably on my both hands all the things that stand out like that. He can't. He has had too many, literally hundreds of these scenarios.
Thomas,
I've,
what's some of your jaw-dropping moments that are like
oh my
wild?
God.
Besides
I've
meeting
had
me.
I've had so
Yeah.
many. I've had so many, but I was doing home cases for a long time. I don't really do them anymore, but there are other investigators that consult with me sometimes when they can't seem to get the answers that they need. But I did a house up in Connecticut, and it was in the Suffield area of Connecticut where the airport kind of is now. But back in the day, the early 1900s, it was tobacco fields. And there was a man that lived there with his wife and his kids, and they had boarders in a house next door to work on the tobacco field. So he had 6 kids. He went off to New York for business, came back, found out his wife cheated on him with one of the boarders and bludgeoned her to death. And he ended up going to jail, of course, the Wethersfield jail, where Charles and I were a couple weeks ago visiting. And but the people that lived there was 3 guys, big motorcycle looking guys. You don't think they'd be afraid of anything. So they called the woman I was working with at the time. They called us in to check out what was going on, because they were complaining that they were getting poltergeist activity in the basement. The door was opening and closing to the point they had to put the couch against the door so they could get some sleep at night. So they were getting the old 3 bangs, shadow figures in the background and all that. And then, I got the history of the house. Of course, the gentleman that, bludgeoned his wife, there was a few people that lived there. There were some sisters that lived there. And just the fact that 2 of the guys that lived there both had near-death experiences. And when you have 2 people like that and that energy that moves in, that's when things started happening, when one with a near-death moved in with the other guy with a near-death. And that's when stuff started happening. So sometimes that could happen. But they were getting all this activity. And so we went in, moved through, picking up on the energy, going through the home. And I have what's called an SLS camera. I know you guys probably have them too. It's like little green stick figures. It picks up energy.
Yeah.
So we were pointing it to the part of the house that used to be the kitchen, from what we found out, because there was a guy that was friends with these people that was the one that renovated the house. So we're pointing this camera, and all of a sudden the stick figure pops up, 2 of them. And me being the empath, all of a sudden my hair stood up, and I said, something is not right. And I said to my partner, and I told her to film. And we're filming, and the one stick figure looked like it was bludgeoning the other one, like it was reenacting the murder from the early 1900s. So I tried to see if it was residual or not, but it was like both. It was reenacting, but it was interacting with me at the same time. I told it, I says, you can't do this anymore. You're not allowed to do this. This is in the past. This is over. You can't keep repeating it. You need to stop the cycle. So as soon as I said that, loud bangs on the wall, like it was angry at me. Boom, like as loud as 22 gunshots. And we just stuck in there, kept trying to talk to this, get it to stop, get it to stop. And then the one stick figure went away and the other one was still there. Like it looked like it was injured. So I think it was the woman. And I said, if you're the woman, you don't have to be here anymore. You have free will. You could move on. I says, all you have to do is I'm going to reach my hand out, touch my hand, and you could leave. You don't have to have this happen anymore. You see the stick figure reach out, touch my hand, and disappear. And all of a sudden, all the energy just completely stopped. It was one of the most incredible things I ever felt in my life.
Wow.
And it's still a jaw-dropping thing, but we ended up blessing the house, clearing it all out. But that's not where the story ends. They were finally able to sleep after years. Nothing was going on in the house. But it came to the point a year later that they were planning on selling the house. And I think whatever energy was still there didn't want them to. So when the realtor brought some people in to show them the house, they were down in the basement and a disembodied voice said to the people looking to buy the house, "Get the F out. Get the F out." They went running up the stairs, and the voice said, "You're going to fall." And the guy fell up the stairs. So they call us. I said, "Do you want us to come in and bless the house again? Because it's a different type of energy now that it might be, we have to calm it down." They didn't want us to come. But the house finally sold in principle, afterwards for a different couple. But I think sometimes the spirit maybe didn't like that couple and maybe like the other one. I don't know. But from what I found out was the guy kept telling us not to come, and it was almost like he didn't care anymore. And I think whatever was there was mad, because during the inspection there was termites, and he had already moved to Florida, and it was going to cost him over $70,000 to fix it. And I don't think the house ever sold, so it still might. I don't know what really happened to it, if he ever fixed it, because they never communicated back with us. But yeah, I mean, that's to write a whole book. I could write a whole book on that. It's really quick that I told you, but there's so much other stuff that was going on at that house. We detected over 8 spirits in that house. Whether it be family members that follow the people that lived there, their ancestors, the people that used to live there, the sisters, and that 1920s murder. And there was another spirit we felt coming from the basement, which was the bad one. And that bad one, I picked up on a recording afterwards, and it was like a devilish laugh. And then I heard a metal drop, and we didn't hear it when we were there. And at one time, when we blessed the house the first time, we had to go back a second time, because the first time we didn't feel like it went right. I just had a bad feeling about it. And the girl I was working with, she went off to Lake George for a vacation with her husband. And in the 5 o'clock in the morning, she calls me. She felt like the energy from the home tried to choke her out while she was sleeping. And I was like, that's crazy. So a few days later, I was sleeping, and I had a dream of this woman coming to me. It was weird. She was dressed in like a Burger King looking outfit. The Burger King, the brown, the orange in the old days, here. And she looked like she was angry, and she started choking me. And I woke up and I could still feel hand marks on my neck. So I was like, okay, we need to go back. So we hit this thing with everything we had. We did a shaman blessing, the, Catholic Christian blessing. We did a Tibetan healing bowl. I mean, we threw the whole kitchen sink at it, and that's when it finally stopped. But, it goes to tell you that nothing's foolproof in this industry. And I always tell people, one of my big quotes, and everybody knows me, is you're never 100% right. You're never 100% wrong about the paranormal. Just when you think everything's good, it's not. So you got to keep working at it. Like I said, the journey never stops. You got to keep pressing and trying to heal and help people.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you go down one rabbit hole with a paranormal, and there's another 10, and you're like,
did you say rabbit hole?
Yeah.
There's my saying right there.
Oh
That's his
wow,
saying.
man.
Yep. That's what I sell at our Paracons and all that,
That's wild.
So when I do my videos, I do a few videos a week and all that, and I call all my people that watch my glorious weirdos, and at the end of it, it's, hey, down the rabbit hole again, anything we talk about. So but it's fun because I do true crime on Tuesdays with I call Tuesday morning serial. On Wednesdays, I do word and phrase origins, where they come from. And then on Thursdays, I do weird, spooky facts from our state of Connecticut. So like Charles will tell you, I'm a big historian. I go down the rabbit hole anywhere we go to keep our people that come to our events safe. I make sure I know everything going on and what might happen, could happen. I'm prepared. I prepare him, and we're ready. And if somebody needs to be cleansed or cleared or anything like that, I'm ready for it and get them ready, So that's kind of what we do. And we keep everybody safe with our events, make sure they have a good time. And that's always the most important part.
There was a few places that, were reputed to be demonic. And when we did our paranormal investigations, I would do the introduction. We'd go for dinner, and then I would leave. I wouldn't go to the places. And now that Thomas and I are, partnering in all these events, I'm confident. I went to a place not too long ago that I would not have gone to prior because I'm a pussy. And and sincerely, these places were they were off-putting to me. If I felt that there was, you know, a scenario where the people could be in danger, I would never do it. If it was where the people insisted on going, I didn't want to go. I wouldn't. And now there's no place like that. I feel so confident, you know, when we go together that there's going to be a safety, that there's going to be usually, I don't want to use the word cure, but if something needs to cross over, I feel more now than ever that that will happen. If there's something that needs to be resolved, like the trolley case, you know, with that person, I really think that that was a scenario where someone was at, you know, not at ease and, you know, at turmoil for possibly centuries or certainly decades. And, you know, when someone who you're with who knows how to do the right things does the right things, everyone is much safer and it's a more comfortable situation.
Yeah. How do you deal with stuff like demonic entities, which are very dangerous? Like, how do you deal with that? Or
Well,
can you deal with that? I don't know.
I'm going to tell you something. You know, I know a lot of people talk about the demonic and all this other stuff, but me personally, after all these years and being well versed in demonology, um, I really think it's us. It's our traumas, what we manifest, and what we try to cover up. You know, some people have bad things that happen to them in a young age as they go older. And I've talked about this before, you know, I'm known for true crime too. Serial killers, they go through trauma and they become serial killers. But sometimes you can manifest your own demons. Let's say you're an alcoholic or anything like that, you know, that becomes your demon for you. That's what creates negative and all that. And you can manifest it into existence, what's called an egregore. An egregore is when enough people put energy into one thing, you could, in theory, create it. And for me, every time anything of demonic nature people say is demonic, as I interview the family, it's always the same thing. So and so is an alcoholic, so and so is on drugs, so and so is a hoarder, these negative things, they've had trauma, this. And I always feel like they manifested it. I don't know if you saw the movie, you know, they had The Exorcist with recently, and the movie plot was they moved over to your guys' area from the US because the father died and he had a house there. So the kid didn't talk after his father died. So he had the trauma of his father dying. And the daughter was mad that she had to move there and leave all her friends. So you have those traumas all going on, and then all of a sudden they become possessed, in theory.
Yeah.
Because those traumas put them to that point. Something was invited in, but those all could be taken care of with finding out what the trauma is, putting a name to it, and then going through the steps to take care of it. That's why Alcoholics Anonymous, they say, I'm an alcoholic. They put a name to it, and then they go through their steps. It's the same thing with those traumas. You put a name to it, it's alcohol, it's drug abuse, I was abused, I was this, I was that, and come to terms with it and do that. You know, whether it be a Catholic priest that recognizes it, or somebody like myself that's a healer, the shaman aspects of it, that's the way I look at it. I don't want to give it. A lot of people give it like all these movies. This is demonic, and there's these shows that everything's demonic. Blah blah blah. If you give it the name, you give it what it wants. It's going to eat away at it.
Yeah.
And I just want to take it away and not give it a name. You know, I'm working with people right now that they call their house the demon house, and I told them, I says, if I'm here to help you, help with things, you need to rename your house if you want to do your business. And we're working on that now. I don't want to go too much into it, but there's a group of us at no charge. There's 10 of us that are coming in to help this house that's been under siege for such a long time. And we're going to help them rebrand and help the energy of that house so they could actually run the business the way they wanted to. So, and that's coming up soon. We'll see how that comes out.
It's funny, Tommy, because there's places that it's part of their moniker now. It's part of their trade, and some don't want there to be cleansings. You know, they're
Yeah.
gonna they're afraid they'll lose their brand if
Mhm.
that happens. Also, you know, I have theories of a lot of things, and when we do these presentations, the question that's asked is, "Aren't I afraid of an evil spirit?" Yeah, I am, absolutely. But I think there's odds against it. And you know, you go to a football match and there's 50,000 people in the audience. Everyone gets drunk, but how many of those people are evil? How many of them desecrated a church? How many of them killed a dog? How many of them, you know, murdered their 0, you know, 1 out of 2 million, a billion. That's what I think is the same ratio, and it
Mhm.
makes sense
Yeah.
of a spirit, you know, and what are the odds of coming across that? I don't think there are. And if, heaven forbid, that does happen, you know, when you have someone like Thomas on the case, you feel comfortable that if something does happen to one of our guests or to ourselves, that we're at the point now where we know and are educated enough and have enough experience to do whatever cleansing is needed, to do whatever protective measures go in hand with the stuff. And I think that's very important. You know, we're not out there to put someone at risk or at danger. We're not there to expose ourselves to evil spirits. We're hoping to, you know, communicate with spirits, but on their terms, and hopefully it equals out to our terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you guys get out at the moment? How often are you investigating? Is it once a week or?
He does it a lot more than I do. We do official events where we charge a fee, and we take them out for pizza and soda, and then we teach them how to use the equipment. We've gone to so many places that I don't want to say we're running out and we want to reuse, but we're looking to do really special experiences. So whereas I'd like to do it every other month, it's more this year. It's been 4 times a year because we have so much else going on. We have
Yeah.
a paranormal convention coming to Connecticut, July 10th and 11th. We have the Connecticut Summer Psychic Fair Fest the following weekend in upstate Connecticut. We have the Connecticut Witches Trial Festival, August 10th and 11th in Hartford. We have the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention, October 19th and 20th. We're doing podcasts during the week. We'd like to do a lot more of these, you know, official investigations where we bring along, you know, followers and bring along people with us. It's a time constraint thing now. You know, do you want to do a convention that draws 1,000, or do you want to do an event that's going to have 20 people? You know, so there's that aspect to it. We want to do it all, but it's a
Yeah.
case of fitting it all in and, you know, coinciding our weekends. See, whereas Thomas has a full-time job besides this, I'm a DJ. So my Friday, Saturday, if I'm, you know, not doing paranormal, I'm doing weddings, I'm doing parties. And to give that up, it's, you know, I need to find weekends where I don't have gigs so I can do our thing together.
Yeah. Man, I want to come out there with you guys. Oh, it sounds like a blast.
It would
It
have to
is.
be the Shaman, the Showman, and the
Ginger man.
gotta have
Ah,
But I love the beard, dude. You
oh,
got
thank you,
you
bro.
got the badass beard there.
I appreciate it,
love
man.
I love a good beard. Yeah.
Would you guys ever come over to the UK and investigate
Oh
in
my
in
God.
the future?
Well, so
Yep.
aside from all this stuff, you know, my background, I do Dracula tours to Transylvania. I think you knew that. And every year we've done that for 26 years. We combine the fiction of Bela Lugosi's Dracula and Bram Stoker's book with the truth of Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes. And just like, you know, when we're together as the shaman and the showman, it's history, it's truth, it's investigations. with a little show, with a little entertainment. Well, that's what I do with all the tours. Well, people come on the tour and they have a great time. And it's 50 people saying, hey, Charles, we love Transylvania. Can we do another place? So through the years, we have gone to a place called England numerous times, Ireland, Scotland,
Oh,
Hungary,
wow.
Czech Republic, Israel, Cuba, I'm forgetting, Prague, East Germany, Frankenstein's Castle. So a lot of the people who went on the Dracula tours who had such an amazing time, now it's like a club. There's like 20, 30 of them who just say, Charles, when's the next tour? We would love to go. We went to England, we go to Whitby, we go to the Abbey, we go to Cambridge, Essex, London. We go to all what we feel within
Yeah.
driving distance are the most haunted areas. Borley Rectory, the Spaniards Inn. All these places.
Yeah, man.
So we've brought Americans over on ghost tours to England many times on these type of events.
That's awesome. I know I said to you I'm from London. I am close to London, but I'm actually from Essex, which is
Well,
about very close to London. But so I say London, but yeah. Oh,
Essex,
man.
very haunted city, very.
Yeah, man.
And
There's a lot of history.
York, we always want to include York and go
Yeah.
to the Minster and all that. Yeah.
A lot of history, man, for sure.
Oh,
I've got to ask you guys as well, because obviously paranormal as a whole, we've also got the cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman. Where do you guys stand with that side of the paranormal?
can I blow your mind right now?
Yeah. Yes.
So the way I look at it, I've looked at this for a while. You have your cryptids, you have Bigfoot, you have the Loch Ness Monster, those types of things. I look at it as interdimensional. What if I were to tell you that Bigfoot is just the ghost of a Cro-Magnon man or Neanderthal man, and that's why we can't capture it? What if I were to say the Loch Ness Monster was actually the ghost of a dinosaur? That's why we can't capture it. We do like ghosts, we catch them on film sometimes, but we just can't grasp the concept. They could be interdimensional, move in and out, those types of things. It's talked about the Bermuda Triangle, people going into the forest and never coming back. Who's to say there's portals aren't there? That, again, with aliens, they could be living under the water, they could be living in the mountains, up in the sky. There's portals everywhere. That's how they move in and out. We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what makes like I said, the paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, it's all intertwined. And that's what makes it amazing. And we'll never know exactly. That's what makes the chase so fun.
I really love your answer to that. And is it possible, in theory, that if in fact dinosaur and Cro-Magnon man are explanations and great explanations for what we've talked about, could UFO be interplanetary futurist things that we're seeing future things when we see a UFO? Is that possible?
Well, exactly. So I'm going to put it this way. So Einstein said, time is relative and light bends. All right. So light is time. All right. So the theory is that our past, our present, and our future are all in the same timeline. They're all going the same time. So if light bends, who's to say that the past doesn't bend into our now? That's why we see spirits. That's why we see whatever. And who's to say the future doesn't bend back towards our now? And we're seeing what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So it's all going at the same time. And that's a theory that's been done. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Unbelievable. One of my favorite movies.
But that's the theory, because Nicole Kidman is back in the 1800s. She supposedly killed her kids. She doesn't know she's dead, but there's ghost hunters in the future and they're intertwining. So she thinks she's still in her time and they're in their time. They're overlapping. And that's where that time theory comes in. So
Spoiler.
How have I not seen that film? That sounds amazing.
It is. It's an incredible
I need to see
film.
that.
Yeah.
Why don't you give away the answer to The Sixth Sense while you're at it?
I've seen that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Because a lot of people say that in the spirit world that time is irrelevant. Like time
Yeah.
is not how we perceive time here.
Nope.
So
Agreed.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I like to think about it when you were younger, and you're playing with your friends and all that, and summer seemed to go on forever. You're like having
Yes.
fun with your friends and all. Now that we're older, doesn't it seem the summer goes by like that?
Oh man, 100%.
Time is so different at your age and how you perceive it and all that. Is it going faster? No, it's supposedly going the same time, but again, we don't know. It's paranormal. Time
Well,
is paranormal as your age goes.
Mhm.
I think as we get older, the minutes are slower, but the years are faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's like,
exactly.
I mean, the weeks
Crazy.
just go like literally the weeks are just gone. Like, I can't believe it. Like, another week's gone, another week's gone. It does feel like that, and this year's just flying. I mean, I know a lot of people say that as they get older, but
Yeah. I don't know, Charles. I think Tommy's dragging us down the rabbit hole. He's got me going.
see that? We're going into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to get down the rabbit hole.
no, I love it.
because
I love it, man.
I will mess with your mind in a good way. In a good way. But all these years, all these theories, and I've worked with a lot of people and all that, and just bouncing theories off each other and just sitting and talking around the campfire, just up in these different locations and getting together with all these fellow glorious weirdos that I like to call them.
Yeah,
Just throwing these theories back and forth. And I mean, with history, with all these haunted areas, and talking about why does this happen? Why does that happen? And that's what makes this so fun, and what Charles and I do. And we provide this for people to come to these paracons to hear people talk about all this stuff. Like the Connecticut Paracon coming up, it's July 20th and 21st. And people are going to get to hear, like myself, like Charles, some of these great people that have been on TV, psychic mediums, and just give their 45 minutes or 30 minutes of what they've experienced, like we're talking about right now. We're just sitting back, having fun, talking about weird stuff, and people love it.
yeah.
Tom, I have a
We
scoop.
provide that.
I have a scoop for you.
Yeah.
Let's
So we
go.
have a Paracon coming up that you and I are putting on in a few weeks. We talked about doing a screening room for the first time. We're gonna have like a film festival, and if people were on TV shows, ghost shows, whatever, that will show it. Well, we just found out that Connecticut horror filmmaker Eric Bloomquist, who's put out the Founders Day and also put
Saw
out
that.
Night at the Eagle Inn, all these great movies, is going to be curating that room. So he will
Wow.
be there to show his films
Oh,
and to show films of the people who are our guests. So we never had this at a Paracon before, so it's very exciting. This is official. He's going to be there all weekend doing that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's also the first time that we're doing a ghost hunt while the convention is going on the hour. Every hour, we have a host who's going to take people literally 500 feet from the venue where we're having the event to 2 haunted locations, plus a cemetery with a very famous witch is buried. And it's going to be pretty epic. So you go to the Paracon, you're not just going for the guests. You're not just going for the vendors. There's all these other aspects to the show. We've really raised it to a whole nother level this year. You got to fly in for it.
I'm coming, man. I'm coming.
You pay for the ticket. We'll pay for your
Oh,
yeah.
your bed and board.
oh man.
Tommy, you
could
could stay. You could stay at my house, buddy.
That's what I
I'll
meant.
be on the couch.
Thank you very much. But I don't think I'll leave though. That's the problem. I think I'll probably end up staying.
Yeah, that's okay.
I got
We
the
do have a
couch.
Celtics hat on, so you're welcome. So.
Yeah.
I got the couch waiting for you.
Oh man, I am definitely coming. That is the dream.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're so excited. It's only a few weeks away. And for people to be able to experience some of the stuff that we got going on, it's just mind blowing. Is if you're into the paranormal, this is the event of the summer.
Yeah.
Not because we're involved with it, because there's so many people besides ourselves that are involved with it that you got to come and hear talk and we talk about these movies, these TV shows. We have so many different people coming, people that were on Ghost Hunters, Paranormal Caught on Camera, like myself and another psychic medium, Scott Allen. We're on a show called Dark Echoes. So there's all these personalities that are there. But the great thing about it is when we all get together, there's no ego. Everybody's in spirit. And it's such a good time and all that. And there's so many different vendors with their experiences and being able to give you anything that you satisfies your paranormal want and need and all that. It's there for you. So you got to
Awesome,
make
man.
sure you come, get
I
your
am coming.
tickets.
I am
You know,
definitely coming. Get those
Should I-
couches ready, boys, because
Yeah, I got it warmed up for you, Tommy. We got it warmed up. So
that would be amazing. Can you
Yeah.
tell the listeners how they can find you guys and where they can get their tickets from, etc.?
Yeah.
Paracon with two N's because it's clever, short for Connecticut, PARACONN.org, not .com. If people want to look ahead to October, the Salem Paracon, which is also a horror convention, is Salem, PARACON.org. And to find out about all our events, it's find this guy on Facebook is the best way. He is constantly posting amazing stuff. If you follow him, you don't just hear about all the great events, but you're also going to get daily doses of great stuff, whether it's factoids about, serial killers or, paranormal stuff. And if you're part of our family, once we get your email, we keep you informed and give you first crack at all the things we do.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I will share the links and your contacts in the show description so people can find you very easily. I'm coming, gentlemen. I want to live in Salem. That is that's where I want to go. So I'm there.
Yeah. You got to come, Tom. You got to have a pint with us or something.
Oh, that would be amazing, guys.
Yeah.
Can we end on another freaky experience? I want to put you on the spot. If you've got another freaky experience, maybe a freaky experience that you guys have had together on an investigation. Have we got any to share?
One comes to mind.
The shadow one, or
well, maybe. I'm tossing between Dudleytown, but I'm going to tell an international one because I do the Dracula tours to Transelvaina. They're called Vampire Vacations, and it's an excuse to get in a plug for www.dractours.com. People come from the UK on my trips. They come from the US, from Canada, from everywhere. You wouldn't think of those as a paranormal experience event. The ghost tours you would. But one year we went on the Dracula tour, and we always try to stay in Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania. It's where all the oldest buildings, the oldest hotels, and when we use the land travel guides, they say, "Well, do you want to stay? We've got nice Hiltons, we have nice hotels. You want to stay in a U.S. Sheraton?" No, we want to stay in the old part of town at the oldest hotels. That's what we love. And one year we couldn't. All of Bucharest, it was either the capital cultural of Europe or there was football matches, soccer matches, whatever. All of Bucharest downtown was filled to capacity. They said, we're going to have to put you in a resort. Now, when you hear that, if you're a normal traveler, you get excited. You want to stay in a resort. We were like detesting the thought of staying in some kind of resort until they said, well, kind of has an interesting history. It used to be a convent, and it used to be an insane asylum.
Oh man.
All right. So I said, oh, my tune changed real quick. I said, all right, you can put us up there. We get there the very first night, and everyone is jet lagged, and everyone all they want to do is crash. They just want to go to their rooms, but I keep them up a little later because we don't want their sleeping schedule to get screwed up. The whole, U.S. European transatlantic flight. So we force them to come to our orientation dinner, stay up till 9 o'clock, and then you can go to sleep. Well, everyone came down except two couples. One couple, a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, just two people. And the rest of us, we were given the ground rules and said, you can look over the whole place. You can look at the beautiful water, which used to be a moat. You can look at all the places, but just don't go to the basement. you're not allowed in the basement. There's a sub basement. Just don't even try. It's locked. So what the first thing we do is we try, and it was locked. We couldn't get in, and we didn't ask any questions. We just figured it was a hazard of some sort. It got freaky the next day, Tommy, when this couple got up and apologized and said, sorry, we didn't make it to the orientation dinner. We fell asleep. They're probably shacking up and then they fell asleep. They're a young couple. And they said, but boy, we had a great experience right around midnight. We decided to take a walk along the grounds and we went to this basement here. And all of us did that face you just made. We all went, and someone says, oh, you got in? And they didn't answer. They go, so we went to the basement. And then there was another door and it was a sub basement. And we went down there and you could hardly see anything. It was really old and grotty. And we were halfway through and this security guard came up to us. And we know, all right, we know we probably shouldn't be here. We're sorry. We'll turn around. We'll go away. They said he doesn't say anything. And we turn around to ask him if we can go out if there's another, and he's gone. We don't get to say, and they said, it's really weird though. He was dressed in like clothing that looked like it was like ancient clothing. And he looked, and as they're saying it, they're realizing that they're not talking about a modern day security guard. And the man behind the desk who's checking us all out, all he said was in his broken English, oh, you saw him.
Oh,
and all of
man.
us were like so jealous because they had an experience none of us had. And that was the freakiest thing that ever happened on one of my tours. Ironically, not on a ghost tour, but on one of the Dracula tours.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I wonder what would happen if they went right in. I mean,
They kept going. If they try to answer him or talk to him, all he did was stand there. They saw him. They said, sorry, and turned around. And then they turned back to him to ask him if there's another way to get, and he wasn't there. He was gone. And they said what he was wearing, it looked like centuries old. And he looked like, just barely even there. And they realized it all made sense.
wow. That's wild.
Top
Man.
that.
Yeah.
Top that with Gormley.
Oh my God. Charles, you don't even want to challenge me, buddy. You don't even want to challenge me. That's cool.
But
That's cool. I love it. But you know me. I actually talk to these spirits and we do have that communication, and for years I've helped them heal and helped them move on. There's so many different aspects of it. Just recently, I haven't told you, Charles, just the other day, we have always had these little mini high school reunions. I have a friend of mine. He is the first selectman of his town. I won't tell you where the town is, but we've coined it the Connecticut Triangle, because where his house is, there's another house and there's a library, and there's just this whole energy of this whole area. So I've been wanting for years, because I've investigated his house, which is crazy, but the house across the street his sister lived at, but she's moving out. So we're finally able to go in and take a look. But the house used to be a tavern, then it became the rectory. So you think about it, a tavern and a rectory in the same place, it's crazy. And there was a story of a police officer that came to collect one of the people that lived there at the time, because he was trying to dodge his duty to go to World War II. So he was drafted and all that. So he didn't want to go. So he shot the police officer on the deck. And the police officer died right there. So needless to say, we are having just a bunch of people from the town, some friends from high school. We all got together. It was about 15 people. It was almost like I'm having an event, and I'm thinking to myself, Charles and all that, man, I could have charged for this thing. It would have been great. But, so we take them over and I give them the rundown of history and stuff like that I that I got from my friend, and he's telling the history. And we get to a point in the night where people are holding the equipment just like we do regular, and we're getting some spikes and all that. And I know there was a archdeacon that lived there, so I think he's very protective of the house. We communicated with him, but then it was spiking, and I said, if you're the police officer that was shot here, is that you? And through the SB7 spirit box, it said, yes, I'm here. Like, yes. So I knew he was there. And so I took my opportunity with what I know and what I was feeling. And I said to him, I said, okay.
Sorry, we're back. We're back. Sorry, man.
Okay. So with that, I said to him, I know that you were shot, and I don't know if you were shot, but you were, and this is what happened. You have free will. You don't have to be here anymore. You don't have to keep going through it. And again, like it just happens all the time, and you give people that opportunity that they don't have to be here anymore, whether they want to stay or not, and they decide to move on, and then the instrumentation again just stopped, and it's incredible. But the archdeacon wanted to stay there and keep watch over the house. He didn't move on, which is good. Not everybody's going to move on. And then the other one that I don't think knew he was dead, like, oh my God, and decided to leave. And you could see how the instrumentation changes in that communication. And as soon as I said, you don't have to be here anymore, through the SB7 spirit box, it said, thank you.
Oh, wow.
And that was it.
That's awesome, man.
But, it's just incredible. And there was like 15 of us, and it's not like I was there by myself. Call every single one of them up, and they're going to tell you the same thing. That's the incredible part, when you have an experience with a group of other people and how profound it is.
Mhm.
And one of the women was actually weeping that, and it's just so crazy how some of this stuff happens sometimes. And, you don't know, you never know when it's going to happen, but to help people, to heal people, to help people learn about the paranormal, to help them have a good time, to help them come to these paracons and experience this stuff for the right reasons, and not to glorify crazy stuff and everything's demonic, all this other stuff. That
Mhm.
it's a great thing, and I'm glad that Charles and I together are able to provide that for people, to see things and to know that, hey, we're not alone. You never know what's out there, and it's that coming together and sharing ideas and trying to find out what's going on. And I always tell people it's the chase, because I don't think any time in our lifetimes will anybody ever come to the solution of what's beyond the veil.
Yeah. Yeah. With your abilities, do you think they're getting stronger?
Yeah, I think as we get more and more and more, I do have a lot of people that help me. I do have other people that do shamanistic practices and all that. And it's, for me, my journey with that is very recent. My old partner was, shamanistic practice. You can't be a healer or anything. You have to be chosen. And I've had several people tell me that I was chosen. I ain't chosen, but that's the thing with it. You're chosen, you have, that ability, and you have almost like a duty to act and help people. And that's just important, to help people learn, do it the right way. It's not just me, it's just teaching people, the lay people, that there is something beyond us and all that, and to embrace it, to know there's a higher power, to know that our ancestors are always around us, our loved ones are always around us. It's proven. Think about it this way. I've interviewed a lot of hospice nurses, and when people are about to pass, they always see their loved ones. But it's not they're seeing them for the first time, they're always there. But they're at that point of death. And what I told you about, that theta wave, they're about to pass, they're in that sleepy, they're about to go. And that's when they pick it up and know that the family's always been there for them. And they're there to take them to the other side of the veil. So, that's the theory. that's what we have hope in and all that. No matter what religion you are, whatever, there's always a higher power, whatever you believe in. I'm very esoterically diverse. I try and know everything about everybody's background, because if I don't, it depends what I was dealing with back in the day with home investigations. It depends on what motivates people, and that motivation, what puts energy into that home. And I have to know what that motivation is to help them heal, or help the spirit, help them. That's what it is. And we provide this for what Charles and I do, these events to help people learn that. The paracons bring people in like-minded to learn about all this stuff. So that's why I'm so excited about everything coming up. I think people are going to be mind blown at, especially with the Connecticut Paracon coming up, because Charles and I keep trying to change things. We keep trying to bring in different people that nobody's seen before, different points of view, and to get people to think and to enjoy it, and to come both days. Doesn't have to just be a Saturday, Sunday. Come both days. There's so many different people and their point of view. It's very inexpensive, and I think that investment in what you believe and what you want to learn about it's very small. And I think people are going to love it. Anything that we do, I always feel like it's world class, and we want people to be able to experience that.
And from the heart. And
Yeah.
with that in mind, I also want to add that if someone has an issue, we're not going to charge if they need their home cleansed. If there's an entity, who you're going to call. That's a funny line, but in sincerity, we're there. We wouldn't even hesitate to help in any which way.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a great job, because it's very serious what you're doing, but you're also having a bit of fun as well, which I think is great, and I think that's important. And I'm coming over, that is for sure. I'm moving in, and
Yeah. I got an extra room for you, Tommy.
Oh, I'm there,
We're
man.
going.
I'll tell the wife I'm going away for a couple of days, and I'll
Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta block you. Hang on.
Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight.
Yes.
Super interesting. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming on, sharing your stories, your work. It's awesome. I'm going to be sharing everything in the show description so people can find you easily.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to coming over and having a beer with you guys. That'll be fun.
We look forward to it. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can't wait to have you, my friend.
Thank you very much, guys. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, share it where you can. That's a great way to support us. Give us a follow and reach out to these guys as well if you want to go and have some fun. And we will see you very soon. Keep it freaky. Bye for now. Thank you very much, guys.